This is Chansimlo Zabanda with the news on Zodiak. Top stories this hour. Former Chief Secretary to Government Royd Muhara spends the night in police cell as ACB finalizes inquest. Economic experts fault MERA for delaying to respond to global trends on fuel which impact on consumers. Electoral stakeholders push MEC to act on politicians that continue to breach electoral code of conduct during polls. And elsewhere, Ugandan President reappoints son as head of special forces. We now give you the news in detail. Former Chief Secretary to Government Royd Muhara has been forced to spend the night in police cell following his arrest by Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB on suspected corrupt practices. ACB Director General Eneg Matemba told us the Bureau's investigators have finalized recording statements from Muhara and that he will be taken to court this Friday to be formally charged. Muhara, who is also High Court judge, is suspected to have taken part in the lease of part of Kanjeza Forest land by former Deputy Minister of Homeland Security Charles Chacha. Matemba explains.
Our officers have finished recording a statement from him. Tomorrow morning he will be taken to the magistrate court where he will be formally charged and be given an opportunity to apply for his release on bail. That will take place tomorrow. In the meantime, we've taken him to one of the police stations in Lilongwe, safe custody until tomorrow morning.
What are the charges that have been levied against him?
The media will know about the charges tomorrow morning. What I can say, the charges relate to the issue of the lease of part of what used to be called Kanjeza Forest, and the charges relate, therefore, to the reasons why we arrested Honorable Charles Chacha, Honorable Kaunda, and Mr. Bright Kumwembe. That is all what I can say for the time being.
Economic experts have faulted Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority's delay to respond to global trends on fuel, which have a huge bearing on Malawians. ECAMA President Lauren Nyasulu says the Wednesday fuel hike, for instance, was avoidable because changes were noted on the global market, which could have compelled MERA to be making gradual adjustments on fuel prices. Polytechnic economic lecturer Dr. Bechani Chereni agrees with Nyasulu, saying the hike is cumulative, fearing for the welfare of the citizenry. Linda Masinga reports.
The economist Lauren Nyasulu, president of ECAMA, and Dr. Bechani Chereni, an economic lecturer at the Polytechnic, have both blamed MERA for failing to follow global trends on fuel prices, saying the change was expected a long time ago. They, however, agree that the change could have been gradual if MERA was proactive enough, a development that could have been easier for Malawians to take, according to the two. ECAMA President Lauren Nyasulu says the percentage at which fuel prices have been raised defies government's plan of making Malawians free economically, for instance, through the tax-free band.
Very true that the rise in fuel prices will really affect the welfare of most Malawians because fuel in this country is everything. Once fuel goes up, commodity prices, they go up. Transportation goes up. So it means the people will have to incur higher costs in trying to meet their daily basic needs.
On his part, Polytechnic economic lecturer Dr. Bechani Chereni agrees with Nyasulu, saying the hike is cumulative, fearing for the welfare of Malawians. Effective Wednesday night, MERA announced the hike on fuel prices, which most Malawians, including Kama, have complained of. This is Linda Masinga reporting.
African Institute of Policy Development AFIDEP has challenged universities to employ deliberate strategies for their research projects to be impactful in providing solutions to challenges impacting on national development, other than being in the lead criticizing governments. AFIDEP Executive Director Dr. Elia Zulu says this is the aspiration of the organization as it marks 10 years since it was launched for development to progress using data and information from researchers. Nonetheless, Dr. Zulu has also called on politicians and technocrats to embrace the culture of using research findings when making decisions that affect socio-economic development.
Basically, what we believe in is that when policymakers are using evidence consistently, and we are talking about good, robust evidence, reliable evidence, that they are going to be able to make more objective decisions when it comes to setting priorities. You know, our resources are very, very scarce. You can't afford to put money in areas that really you shouldn't be putting money in. So evidence helps you to define the problem, to define where the needs are most. There has to be that realization that that process has to be driven by evidence more than what you believe in or anything else. So if you put evidence at the center of that process, the next thing then is to make sure that the system has the capacity to generate and use the evidence. And we're not just talking about the system. When we talk about the system, it's not just about the government itself. You also have to look at the broader, what you call the ecosystem of evidence use, which now includes researchers, other intermediaries, even journalists yourself. To what extent are you reporting on the basis of evidence? So that, because when you put evidence, it's very, very hard for people to hide. So there has to be that realization, there has to be that demand within government itself, and the government has to invest in systems, in training its staff, but more critically, those who are producing the evidence have also to play their roles. Universities, take a lot of money from governments and so on. They have to take their think tank role, their role in giving back to government. That's by trying to engage with government systems and not just criticize all the time on government is not doing this and this. I think it's critical for universities to train their staff as well as students on how they can promote evidence uptake, evidence-informed decision-making in government. And if we do that, you'll see that now we'll start seeing more sustained improvements, because the decisions we'll make, the places where we'll decide to put the money will be the places that will have the most chance of improving people's lives.
Senior Resident Magistrate Helen Kachala has granted bail to Commissioner for Malawi Electoral Commission Linda Kunje and her driver John Stewesa. The two were arrested for allegedly obstructing President Chakwera's convoy last week. The two were ordered to pay a bail bond of 100,000 kwacha each, two sureties at a bond of 50,000 kwacha each, non-cash, and surrender all their traveling documents. More in this report by Mibawa.
Senior Resident Magistrate Helen Kachala of Zomba has released Linda Kunja and her driver John Stewesa on bail. The two have been given conditions, including to pay 100,000 kwacha as a bail bond cash, to produce two sureties, each 50,000 non-cash, and also report to the nearest police station. The two are supposed also to surrender their travel documents. The driver is answering charges bordering on recklessness and also negligence, while Mrs. Kunje is also answering charges that are similar but not congruent to the same. It is alleged that the two came into conflict with the law when they defied orders to pave way for President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera's convoy. Meanwhile, the case has been adjourned to 29 January 2021.
UTM Publicity Secretary Dr. Joseph Chidanti Malunga has quit active politics. Dr. Malunga confirmed the development, saying this follows the expiry of his leave of absence at Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Luana, where he works as a lecturer. Dr. Malunga spoke with Alfred Guta.
No, I never left Luana. I was only on the leave of absence, and the leave of absence has expired now, and therefore I have to comply with the condition of the leave, which is the going back.
Does this mean that you've quit politics?
Well, obviously, Luana being a parastatal, they may not allow me to engage in active politics.
How hard has it been for you to make such a decision?
Well, like I said, I was on the leave of absence, which is the period most of the times, and it has expired now, and I just have to comply with the conditions of the leave of absence. So I have to go back. That's what it means.
There was a fire scare at Mount Sochi Hotel in Blantyre on Thursday when smoke emerged from the distribution board, causing panic to visitors and employees. Hotel manager Joshua Shawa told us fire brigade team responded quickly before fire broke out.
That our distribution board started producing smoke, and instantly our fire teams at the hotel managed to contain it. And in the process of containing it, we had also called the fire brigade to come in, but the time they arrived, the smoke had already dispersed. As you can see that people are waking, they're meeting, and everything is going on well. There hasn't been any damage to the property and whatsoever, no injuries. So everything is okay as we speak now. What we're doing now is to work with our colleagues from the ESCOM to make sure that we restore power at the hotel. But everything is normal.
You're watching the news on Zodiac. We have got more news shortly.
ShowBright is your home for low prices this festive season. We buy more so you spend less, which means there's no better place to shop for festive deals. Like 5 kg of Kilombero rice for only 5,699 kwacha, 99 tambala, and 10 kg Malawi cream of maize for only 3,299 kwacha, 99 tambala. Take home more this festive season. Lower prices you can trust, always.
Welcome back. You're with me, Chancellor Mozabanda. A reminder of the headlines. Former Chief Secretary to Government Roy Muhara spends the night in police cell as ACB finalizes inquest. Economic experts fault Mera for delaying to respond to global trends on fuel which impact on consumers. Electoral stakeholders push MEC to act on politicians that continue to breach electoral code of conduct during polls. And elsewhere, Ugandan President reappoints San as head of special forces. Now moving on with the news, a consortium of 3 electoral stakeholders has called on Malawi Electoral Commission MEC and law enforcing agencies to discipline political parties and individuals that continue to breach Code of Conduct in an election. The consortium, which comprises Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace, CCJP, and Public Affairs Committee, cites incidences that happened during the Tuesday parliamentary by-election in Mangochi and Palombe.
In our statement, we indicated that in a number of constituencies, particularly I think it was Mangochi Northeast constituency, there were some candidates that were campaigning outside the official closure of the official campaign period. And there were also incidents to do with the handing of handouts to voters. That is really a breach of Code of Conduct by MEC. And we indicated that, yes, this is a Code of Conduct for MEC, that they are put in place so that the playing field is leveled, and we are making that recommendation to Malawi Electoral Commission, which is the electoral management body, to really enforce their own code of conduct to such kind of candidates, so that in future elections we don't have such kind of issues happening again. And we are really calling upon MEC and indeed the Malawi Police Service to look at such kind of issues, so that those that are breaching the code of conduct, indeed the law can take its course, so that we don't have the same occurrence in future elections.
Over 13 lives have been lost due to disasters since the onset of the rainy season this year. Of these, 10 died after being struck by lightning. Both Dodoma and Meteorological Service experts have warned of more disasters. Linda Masinga reports.
Over 9,000 families have been rendered destitute, with 13 lives lost due to heavy rains since the onset of the rainy season this year, according to the Department of Disaster Management Affairs, DODMA. DODMA spokesperson Jibiro Kamula adds that of the 13 lives lost, 10 died after being struck by lightning, leaving about 122 others injured. Kamula warns that things could get worse in the coming months based on the reports obtained from the Department of Meteorological Services.
A total of 9,780 households have been affected. Sadly, they have registered 18 deaths and 122 injuries. But the figures could be more because we have also received some new reports. And as of now, we are compiling the data.
Director at the Department of Meteorological Services, Jola Mkokwe, confirms Kamula's fears, advising people to heed to weather reports as this year's rainy season appears to be disastrous.
These lightning strikes will continue because the rainy season is still around. In addition to the lightning strikes, as the soil is getting more moisture, it means any rain that will be falling in the future will now just be run off. And then this is the time, January, February, March, when we all have these problems of rivers flooding. And at the same time, this is the period when the tropical cyclones, which form in the Indian Ocean, can also threaten Malawi.
So far, DODMA has managed to reach out to over 7,000 families with relief assistance, calling for those in disaster-prone areas to move to safer ground at the soonest. This is Linda Masinga reporting.
Let's now move on to sports. Silver Strikers has announced the signing of former Flames midfielder Frank Banda on a 2-year deal as the central bankers look to bolster their attacking options during the 2020-2021 season. The club's CEO Thokozani Chimbali said the Daniel Kabwe-led panel assessed Banda and wanted him to be part of the squad, hence his acquisition. On his part, the veteran said he's back home and wants to help the team to win games in the league as the 2020-2021 season is already underway. Bright Kanyama has a report.
On Thursday evening, Silver Strikers made Frank Banda their latest signing after agreeing to a 2-year deal, which will see the veteran midfielder play for the Bankers until 2022. Frank Banda left the country in 2013 for Mozambique, where he played for Costa do Sol. He played for Silver Strikers and guided them to the 2013 Super League Championship before departing for Mozambique. Silver Strikers CEO Thokozani Chimbali said the arrival of the veteran midfielder will inject energy in the team as he will be a role model to the young players at the club. Chimbali added that the Daniel Kabwe-led technical panel was satisfied with the progress of the player at training ground and made a request to have him on board after impressing the coaches. On his part, Banda said Silva was high on his list of clubs he wanted to play for after he became a free agent when he officially left the Mozambican side early last month. Banda was part of the 2010 national team that qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations and also played for Civil Service United. For Zodiak, this is Bright Kanyama.
Across the borders, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has reappointed his eldest son, Lieutenant General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, as the head of the Uganda Special Forces Command, an elite unit with the responsibility of guarding the president and first family. General Kainerugaba has had a meteoric rise through the ranks of the army, having trained at the British Academy and other military programs in US, Egypt, and South Africa. He also serves as presidential advisor on special operations and regains his position as head of the Special Forces Command after more than a decade. The move is part of a wider reshuffle within security agencies. And that's what we had time for in this edition of the news. But before we go, another look at the headlines. Former Chief Secretary to Government Royd Muhara spends the night in police cell as ACB finalizes inquest. Economic experts fault Mera for delaying to respond to global trends on fuel which impact on consumers. Electoral stakeholders push MEC to act on politicians that continue to breach electoral code of conduct during polls. And elsewhere, Ugandan President reappoints son as head of special forces. Log on to our website, zodiacmalawi.com, for more news. You've been with me, Chancellor Zapanda. Remember to mask up always when you're in crowded places to help contain the spread of COVID-19. Goodbye.